Welcome back, traders. Well, we had quite a boring day on Wall Street today, but we do have some interesting patterns setting up on the Nasdaq and the S&P. So today I do want to take a look at the S&P 500 cash. I'm going to take a look at the SPY, and I'm also going to take a look at the Nasdaq. But before we get into those today, let's recap today. Today we had the Dow Jones down 16 points, the Nasdaq down 1 point, the S&P 500 up 2, and we had the VIX down zero point 0.5 points. So, relatively flat and blah day on Wall Street, as I would call it. So, let's get into the charts. The first thing that I have pulled up here is the S&P 500 cash index. Now, you notice how yesterday we did close below the 200 and the 50 period moving average, and today we had necktie support on both of those. You notice how we came up and touched both of these moving averages here, but we could not push above them. So that is a sign of a possible downside pattern starting to set up here. You notice we do have a spinning top formation, which is basically indecision between the bulls and the bears. This could set up as a reversal pattern, but as of the sell-off yesterday, we paid no attention to the 200 or the 50 period moving average. So trying to break that on the upside is probably going to be pretty tough since we sold right through them yesterday. So we're going to look possibly for a down day tomorrow, just because this spinning top, even though it is giving us indecision, I do think these moving averages are going to hold pretty good resistance for us, as we did today. Notice the high of the day almost coincides perfectly right here with this necktie of both the moving averages. And another reason why we possibly could negate this head and shoulders pattern that is possibly forming here is that everyone in the market is looking for it. Everyone is looking for this head and shoulders pattern to form. All technicians are looking for it. So if this doesn't play out the way they thought it would be, it might catch a lot of people off guard here if we do continue to sell right through. But I am looking at this area around 882 for support right now, and I'm going to play the market how I see it. I just think it has the least passive resistance right now is on the downside, instead of trying to break through both of these moving averages here. So let me bring up another chart for you. I'm going to bring up the 60-minute chart of the SPY. Notice, traders, our prior pattern we were looking at before, this possible flag pattern forming, bear flag on the SPY, which we did gap down, and we haven't had any chance to come right up to it. And now I'm taking a look at the SPY again, and I see possibly today forming another flag on the SPY here, another bear flag. Now, just taking a look at that, that's also a rising wedge pattern that I'm going to bring you on the 5-minute chart. You can see it a little better, but rising wedge patterns normally do break down to the downside. So let me pull up the 5-minute chart here for you and just take a look at this tight range we had in today. We did sell down this morning, bounced right off this current trend line that I drew in later in the day, and we did come back down to start forming this possible rising wedge pattern that you saw on the other chart. Now, if we do break below this line right here, bottom support line, we are going to see some more selling come into the market. And this is why I'm going to bring up the Nasdaq, because on the Nasdaq we did break on this pattern. Right here is the Nasdaq. So I'm just bringing this up. Dollar sign Compex in my charts. Now, as you can see, we had nice support here. Resistance, 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 and resistance again at this line. Now, notice at the end of the day, we did sell through this pattern. Could be some amateurs getting in some shorts. So we're going to take a look at where we do open up tomorrow. But then again, we have support, 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 and we finally did break through the support level on this chart. Now, if I bring up the daily chart of this Nasdaq, let me take a look at that with you guys right here. Now, the Nasdaq set up a little differently here than the S&P. Notice this trend line I have drawn in. We have support, support again, support again, and we could have possible support again from this 50 period moving average that does line up with the trend line. So that should be some pretty good necktie support on the Nasdaq. Notice how we also did have another spinning top here, which could show that we are again going to move lower. We have no indicators that are setting up for a bull run yet. We do have a lower low on the RSI. The stochastics are oversold here, but you know what? They don't look like they're going to turn up. What I do find interesting is a directional momentum indicator with the